What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video you might notice we have two 2021 Ford Mustangs to compare. However, these are very different vehicles and it might be a little weird to actually compare them. First off, we do have two key fobs that look nearly identical. They even have the pony logos. The only difference is the trunk buttons look slightly different. One looks like it's for a car, the other looks like it's for a crossover, and that's exactly what we're comparing. We have a 2021 Ford Mustang GT over on the right side of me, and then to the left of me we have the all-new 2021 Mustang Mach E. This is a fully electric crossover SUV, and obviously they are not competitors, but they share the same name, the same pony logo up front. And we're gonna kind of find out to see if the Mustang Mach E still has the soul of a Mustang. Now before I begin, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mooresville Ford. They're providing both of these Mustangs for today's video. Check out the link to their website in the description below. This Mach E is their demo right now, so people are test driving it, checking it out. If you want to come and check it out, it'll be here. And then they have a huge selection of 2021 Mustang Coupes, so definitely check them out. And both of these vehicles, we have a full review down in the description below. So we're gonna first start off with the power plants because obviously there is a massive difference on this Mustang right here. This is the old school, the traditional way that we think about powering a vehicle. We have a 5-liter naturally aspirated 8-cylinder engine cranking out 460 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. This car particularly is actually mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. However, a 10-speed automatic is still available. And then on the gas-powered Mustang, you're looking at 0 to 60 time around 4 seconds, depending on the transmission, and a top speed at 155 miles an hour. And then now moving over to underneath the hood on the Mustang Mach E. This is actually a trunk. This vehicle is fully electric, as you know, and actually has a battery pack, which is underneath the door panels. When you open the doors, you can see under there. This particular car is the extended range, so it has an 88 kilowatt hour battery. And with this configuration, it makes 346 horsepower and 428 pound-feet of torque. As far as 0 to 60 goes for this particular spec, it's around 4.8 seconds. However, if you opt for the GT Mustang Mach E, the 0 to 60 time will actually outperform the gas-powered car. Now, as far as efficiencies go, on the car Mustang, this weighs in around 3,700 pounds. The Mach E is closer to 4,800 pounds, so we do have a 1,000-pound difference. And of course, it's a crossover SUV versus a coupe, so that does make some sense. On top of that, we get around 15 miles per gallon in the city and 24 out on the highway for the coupe. And then for this extended range, you're looking at 270 miles for a range. So there's a good look at how these two cars differ as far as some of the specs and how they are powered. As far as the cost, the way these two cars sit, the Mustang Coupe is around $46,000 and this Mustang Mach E is around $56,000. Of course, you can spec them differently and they can be pretty much the same price, so you can theoretically buy both of these cars depending on which one you like. And then now let's go ahead and talk about the styling and see what Mustang characteristics have transferred over to the Mach E. So talking about the styling now with these two Mustangs, first and foremost, they both have an identical pony logo right front and center in the grills. Over on the Mustang Coupe, it's finished off in chrome, and you can see a large opening to allow air to enter the vehicle and cool off this massive engine. Over on the Mustang Mach E, we don't have a traditional grille because it's not needed, and we do have some cool slots within the Mustang pony logo. There is, however, an opening in the lower portion of the grille for the Mustang Mach E to allow air to enter to help cool some of the vital components. And now if we take a look at the headlight design for both of these Mustangs, over on the Coupe, you're going to notice 3 bars within the housing that have a really cool aggressive design to it. They'll function as the turn signal and DRL. And then over on the Mach E, while it's a much different housing design, you'll also notice 3 bars within the housings to give it a similar design. They function as your daytime running lights. And then moving on to the hoods, you'll notice on the Mustang Mach E, there's 2 prominent body lines right in the center leading from the front, and then they flow all the way to the backside of the hood. And then over on the Mustang Coupe now, you'll also see a set of 2 prominent body lines that are very sharp leading from the front to the back. And on both of them, you can see how the hood flows to the farthest edge to give these vehicles a very wide appearance. And then now moving on to the side profile of both of these Mustangs. Of course, the Mustang Coupe has that classic fastback design, very iconic for this vehicle. If you look at the Mustang Mach E, however, they will all come with a gloss black roof, as you can see on this vehicle. And that really gives the illusion to that fastback design, how the white bodywork flows right down to the rear lip spoiler, and the black kind of fades away, really catching your eye to show this is a fastback design. And then even taking a look at the rear windows, you can see the sharp angle within the Mustang Coupe, typical for a two-doored vehicle, and they've carried over that same type of styling and angles over to the Mach E to help give it that aggressive look. And then also the rear fender arches on the Mustang Coupe have a nice bulge around them to give it a wider rear end appearance. You'll notice a very similar body line over on the Mustang Mach E. And then the overall silhouettes of both cars do share some similarities with a large hood and the fastback design. So now finishing up with the rear ends of the Mustang Mach E and the Mustang GT. I think this is where they share the most similarities, especially in the taillights. You can see the traditional 3-bar taillights over on the GT that have a really nice design, how they're all laid out. Over on the Mach E, you have a matching set of taillights finished off with clear housings, and they even flow into the liftgate to give it a little bit more unique design. But I could totally see the Mustang Mach E taillights on a future Mustang Coupe. They have a really cool look, and I love how both of these cars share that similarity. They also both feature the sequential turn signal, which is a super cool feature. And the rear liftgate on the Mach E even has a nice ducktail spoiler integrated into it, mimicking what you'll see on the back of a normal Mustang. And then the reverse lights are actually a mirror image. They're right in the center down low. And then another difference is, of course, the exhaust tips. You get a dual quad-tipped exhaust system over on the GT. Well, we don't get an exhaust note on the Mustang Mach E. However, we do get backup beeps since it is so quiet, and a slight hum to the vehicle when you're moving. And then to now move on to the interior. With the Mustang Mach E, all you have to do is just keep the key fob in your pocket, and when you get up close, it'll automatically unlock. Just by pressing this button, the door pops out for you, and you can grab the grab handle and enter the vehicle. Some of the biggest differences is that this has a massive screen right in the center with all of your infotainment display. You can see everything coming up on the screen for your radio and climate and navigation, as well as configuring all the different settings. It's really cool to have an integrated dial right into this LCD display, and it's all floating on the dash like a modern futuristic car. And then right in your line of view above the steering wheel, there's another LCD display displaying all the information that you're gonna need to see while driving. And then as far as some similarities, you will notice these two different dips in the top portion of the dashboard that transfer over to the traditional Mustangs from the early 60s when the car came out. And then moving on to the Mustang Coupe, you can also just keep your key in your pocket, and when you grab the door handle, it'll automatically unlock to check out the interior. This does look vastly different comparing it to the Mach E. We have a much different screen in the center, a little bit more traditional. You still get all of your controls that come up on it as you would expect. And then one last similarity, they both have matching door sills that say Mustang. So now on to the rear seats of the Mustang Mach E. You just press the button and slide your hand in here to open up the door. Both of these cars do have rear seats. So we are gonna hop in here now. You have quite a lot of space in here. This panoramic roof is fantastic. I have really good leg room and knee room. I'm 5'11", fitting nice and comfortable. I have the driver's seat set at my height. Good headroom as well, actually a ton of headroom. Very open as you'd expect in a crossover. Let's see if we get the same back seat space in the other Mustang. So then on to the two-door Mustang, you open up your one and only side door, open that up, and then there is a handle on the back side of this front seat. This is your rear door now, and then you can kind of just climb inside a little bit. All right, so we are now inside the coupe. Needless to say, it's not exactly the same as a crossover as you would expect. However, it is usable. We can put the seat back, and you do have little cutouts for your knees. So for what it is, it's usable, but not exactly on par with the Mach E as expected. And then climbing right out. Next up, let's check out the trunk spaces and then drive this and see what it's like. We do have a button on the underside right here. We can pop this trunk open. And of course, for a two-door coupe like this, it actually is pretty roomy back here. We can even fold down the rear seats to get a little bit extra space. So definitely not too bad for what it is. Of course, this vehicle is gonna be a lot larger. Pressing the button, we have an automatic liftgate. And as you would expect for a crossover, we have a lot more space in here. These seats will also fold down flat to really amplify the space. We can open that up. We get a little bit of space in there. But yeah, that is the trunk space comparison. Not really a comparison. We have a liftgate button there, and then we can close this up manually. So now let's drive the Mustang Mach E and see what has transferred over from a sports car to an electric crossover. All right guys, so we are now in the Mustang Mach E. I have not driven this car before. However, I've driven the normal Mustangs quite a bit. So foot on the brake and you press the start button, and that is on. We've now turned on the vehicle. Of course, the whole LCD screen turns on. You can adjust all your climate pretty easily. I like how everything is laid out. This is such a big screen. This is crazy to look at. So then to actually move the vehicle, foot on the brake, you rotate your dial, standard in all the new Fords pretty much, into drive. And we can just drive the vehicle now. There are different driving modes. I will have to figure out what I'm in as of right now. I think we hit the little car icon. There are your drive modes. And I love the screen right in the center. Now, of course, this vehicle is, the biggest competitor is gonna be Tesla. The Model Y, or maybe even the Model X, which is a little bit bigger. Wow, those brakes are really touchy actually. But those cars only have this one screen here, so I think Ford did a really smart decision putting the screen right in the center, because now I can see all that information, which I think is super important for a vehicle. These brakes are going to take some getting used to with the regenerative braking. I know I can adjust that somewhere. One pedal drive, we'll keep that off. Sound propulsion, you can have that on and off. We'll have that off for right now, and I will just get up to some speed now. This, wow. When they call this whisper mode, that is legit whisper mode. That is insane. So as far as comparing this to the V8 Mustang, that noticeably is night and day. I mean, these two cars couldn't be more different. They do have some similarities, which is funny. But it's funny now, we're driving this, and this is actually really comfortable. Mike did a full review on this, but this is my first time actually driving it. Wow, this is incredibly nice and quiet. Definitely doesn't feel like a sports car, but I will say it feels pretty solid. There's got a low center of gravity, feel a little bit of body roll, not too bad though, but pretty neat the way it's driving like that. We're cruising at 50 miles an hour. It is so smooth, that is impressive. So with that said, let's go to unbridled. That I would assume is the more performance oriented mode. We'll do the sound noise on. You can hear that a little bit. Oh, those brakes are nuts. The sound it makes, now of course there's no engine, it's all piped in through the speakers, but that sound it makes does sound kind of like the V8 you get in the 5.0 there. Just kind of a toned down, very seamless sound of it. But it's kind of neat to see that. We do have some back roads, we're going to kind of feel it out a little bit. But I don't think there's really anything to compare actually when driving this compared to the normal Mustang. But I think what Ford has done is really given the electric segment something fun and sporty and recognizable. So I think Ford did a pretty good job naming this thing Mustang. I think it's pretty cool, and it makes people talk. And whether you like it or not, everybody's talking about this as something new and interesting, and people want to know about it. And if they didn't call it the Mustang Mach E, it probably wouldn't get as much talking about as it does. It would be kind of cool. I did see a few comments on Mike's review saying they should have just called it the Mach E or something like that. That would have been a cool way to go. But I like the brand identity they've given this by calling it a Mustang, and I think it just kind of brands the name Mustang as something cool, fun, and sporty. Of course, like the GT that we were looking at. But it definitely does have a cool vibe to it, I am getting. Wow. Effortlessly gets up to speed, and I guess that could be even a similarity with the 5.0 V8. That is just pure muscle. It gets up to speed, there's no lag, and especially with the manual, you put it in a gear and just rip in one gear. This kind of does have that same sense of, well, a single speed transmission. If you're just in one gear in the Mustang, you floor it and you just hear it and you just feel acceleration. So that is some similarity. But aside from that, of course, they're much different. I will say though, the view out, you can see the contours in the hood just like on the Coupe, and you can kind of see that smaller rear window there just like in the Coupe. So it does give you that vibe. I can tell this is in the family. The contour of the dashboard is Mustang. Of course, you see the pony logo and everything. So I like that aspect of it. I think they have taken the fun route to create an electric car, because in the beginning, electric cars, they're boring, not gonna lie. However, in the modern times, they have become more fun, crazy fast, really cool, futuristic, and I think Ford has taken the most fun approach possible to make this a pretty fun SUV. But I am liking this, I really do. I think this is, in my opinion, the best one to get as far as electric cars, just because it's normal feeling enough to be familiar, but still futuristic, crazy, like you want in these futuristic electric cars. But I like how all the normal things just feel recognizable and familiar. I'm not the biggest fan of the Teslas just because I think they're too weird in my opinion. The Porsche Taycan, however, that is definitely an amazing car, but that's 3 times the price, so not exactly a competitor to this vehicle. Well, this is definitely a fun electric vehicle. That sound is really cool. We'll turn that off. and that was me accelerating once again. That is super cool. We'll go back into engage. I wonder how that drives. I like how the center screen also changes the different modes. Yeah, so whisper even plays like a little graphic. Unbridled gets a little bit more aggressive feeling. But yeah, I think that is then gonna wrap up today's video. Kind of a fun comparison, just checking out the two Mustangs, because at the end of the day, they are both Ford Mustangs, so you gotta compare them. They gotta have something similar. Huge shout out and thank you once again to Mooresville Ford for providing the Mach E, their demo vehicle, and that really nice 2021 GT with a manual for today's video. Definitely check out their website. They have a huge selection of the 2021 Ford lineup. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next video.